CDC and the regular meeting
Oh,
for IDA and CDC.
4 meetings, 2 annual.
2 annual. Thanks for correcting me. With that, I'll turn it over to Tammy.
Okay, we have the election of officers, the slate of officers: Chairman Matt Simpson, Vice Chairman Dave O'Brien, Secretary Treasurer Joseph LaFura, Park Chairman is Brian Campbell. Are there any other nominations? There being none, can I have a motion to accept the nominations? Travis? Mike? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone
Want a roll
opposed?
call?
Voice vote. Carried. I turn the meeting back over to you, Chairman.
Okay, thank you. We're going to the committees and appointments. First, we have the Audit and Finance Committee, which is Joe, Mike, Ginny, and I would be the alternate. Would someone like to move that? Moved by Joe, seconded by Travis. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Okay, we also have the Executive and Park Committee, which is myself, Joe, Dave, Craig, and Brian. Someone like to move that?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Oh, at large, I didn't do that. Wow. Okay, before I go any further into the committees and appointments, let me go back up to the appointment by chairman. First, the at-large member of the executive committee is Craig Leggett. The CFO, CEO of the agency is Michael Biddle. And the park chairman, contracting officer announcement is Brian Campbell. Okay, I'll go back to number 3, under number 3. Nominating and governance committees is the same as the executive. Number 4, appointment of consultants and official newspaper. Agency counsel is Fitzgerald Morris Baker First. Agency's official newspaper, the Post-Star. Agency's official depository, Glens Falls National Bank. Do we need a resolution for all?
We do all, yeah, however
Okay.
you do it in the past, I would defer to.
Someone like to move those? A, B, and C? Mr. LaFleur? Mr. Wild? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay.
Can I abstain from that one? North
Sure.
South National, please.
Okay. At this point, I'll turn the PAAA matters over to Mr. Brandy.
What is that?
Just some of our policies.
Oh,
And I do believe the only thing that we were changing is the chairman notation in there to chair.
okay,
And recommended.
okay. And did we make an update to the procurement policy to address the limits?
Procurement was updated back in November.
Oh, okay, okay,
Sexual harassment was done in November.
okay. So the only change was that chairman was changed to chair? Okay.
Okay, do we,
Voice vote to accept these, a motion.
so moved.
Second. Discussion.
Any discussion? Sure.
On the procurement, trying to find it right here, but, I'm still trying to find it.
I have it right here.
Well, everybody has it. procurement page, 3, exceptions from bidding, professional services. As the agency may seek requests for proposals for such services. I do not like the word may, and neither does the ABO, I feel, because it's one of their recommendations. And one of their recommendations is that we should, and I would move that we amend this to change may to should.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor, so Joe made that?
It was Dave and then Joe.
Dave? You would have to agree to the amendment,
I would have to?
both of you. Dave first. Dave.
So GML 104B, which covers procurement of professional services, does not require going out for bid, or going out for request for proposal. It simply says we should take the way to make sure we're getting the best value. So,
So, Travis,
I'm just looking at item number 15 on the recommendations, and it says the IDA should solicit requests for proposals for professional service contracts as addressed in the procurement policy. May doesn't really mean anything. I certainly should. Also doesn't, I don't think, it shall, you have no chance to bust, but should, I think, is a little stronger than may.
What does should mean, though? Does that mean you have to, or does that mean you can decide to?
Well, the
legal term, right? Is there a legal?
It's really all you have is may and shall, as far as the...
I believe something's being left out though, because there's more to it. It's saying that if you choose not to go out for an RFP, you need to document why.
Yeah.
So it's giving us latitude to go one way or the other. If you don't do an RFP, then you need to document
Right.
why you chose not to.
And is that actually in our procurement policy? I don't think so.
I think it's inferred, I think that's what the language says by saying shall, but, and then it says the chairman shall prepare in writing the basis for the selection and description of the professional service. That's what was missing from our decision in that ABO review.
Okay. So, what I'm looking at now on page 3, it says the chairman shall prepare in writing the basis for the selection. Was that changed? From the
That wasn't, that was always in there.
Okay.
And I think if you separate these and not have them as a whole, I'm not the attorney, but I should leave this up to you.
No.
Mr. Brandy.
Sure. So basically the way I'm reading that is the agency, and it's comports with the GML, is that the agency can choose to seek RFPs for professional services or not. And if they don't, then the chairman is mandated by the policy to prepare some sort of writing that details the basis for the selection, the description of the service.
Okay. With that said, I withdraw my amendment.
Okay.
Does this mean that if your firm decided they didn't want to do this anymore, I would think we would have to be required to do an RFP for the services.
You would not be, you could, but under the GML you're not required to.
Well, what's puzzling or problem with some people is every year we nominate you guys, so that means it's really not much review to it, but it never seemed practical to us to, when you know all the ins and outs, it never seemed practical for us to be looking for, have 6 other firms putting their name in when you know they weren't going to get it, but I still think there's a difference between filling a position the first time and maybe repeating it. But yours,
If I could, I will withdraw that, but I would also like to note that item number 14 on their recommendations is that the IDA should enter into contracts for all professional services and identify the specified, specific services to be provided and the basis for paying those services. And I believe if there was an RFP, that would be in writing that this is what we're bidding on, this is what is expected. So we'd almost be forced to be reducing this to a contract where apparently none exists today.
You feel that you work at whatever the need is at the time, or...
I do what the partners in the firm ask me to do, so I don't have too much discretion there. As far as what services, I believe the law firm views itself as the legal counsel to the firm, so anything under that umbrella of legal services.
So, whether we call it a contract or a letter of engagement, we should have something in writing that does that. So I agree that we should have something. I don't care whether it's a contract or a letter of engagement. We should have that, so there is no question about what responsibilities are there. I think what makes this such a peculiar situation is that, in effect, the legal counsel has been sort of our operations person plus legal counsel in a certain way. And I think they've done some stuff that we normally wouldn't do in an organization. We have a president that does a lot of things, and here we have a volunteer time on. So I think there's a blend there that maybe we should define that a little bit better.
I believe the issue is having this arrangement without a contract, absent of an RFP. If we had done an RFP for 10 years and you had a contract, they wouldn't say it. They would have no issue. But there is no RFP. There's no background to show that how we arrived at our relationship. So this, basically, we didn't follow our policy.
I can remember when we first hired, and I think we must have done an RFP of some sort, because I think other firms...
It may have, so I understand why they would critique that, because every year we should be, deciding, we do decide who our agency counsel is. We should have a contract, and we should document why we are continuing in that fashion. If we decided to make a change or to see what else is out there, we would do an RFP.
Do you have a contract today?
We don't have a contract yet.
I don't believe so, no.
That's what we need to do.
I think that's the problem. So Mike, can you kind of create
Could do an engagement letter or a contract. There's a few different ways to memorialize a legal relationship.
Engagement letter is similar to contract, right?
I'm sorry?
Engagement letter is similar.
It's the same effect. With legal services, it's a little different because it's an at-will relationship, so there's no term that you're obliged to keep us here, and if we wanted to leave, that's governed by our ethical guidelines by the State Bar Association. So it's a little different than certain other professional services, but whether it's a contract, an engagement letter, it would detail the rates and the scope of services to be provided.
Mr. Campbell?
Well, when you just said RFP, see, it was one for 10 years. That keeps people from coming in and low bidding. 10 years is a long time. It could have escalators in it, whatever, and maybe that's not an all bad idea to correct it.
I wasn't suggesting that. I just was as an example.
But that's not an all bad way of correcting the situation. That way it's always there, and in 10 years you look again. It leaves continuity. I don't know.
Mr. Wild?
So I'm just curious, our current relationship, you bill by the hour?
We do.
They do, right? So, and that includes the detail on what tasks were addressed during that time?
I don't personally see the bills before they go out. The partners do that, but that's my understanding.
Of course, okay. So it should be easy to put up a contract or an engagement letter to
Sure.
say that these are the types of services that could be engaged in. I think we do that, we'll satisfy what the ABO was talking about, and we'll have some documentation.
You know if the rates have changed every year, or?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. It would be on the bill.
I'm sure they go up. Well, maybe they just bill us, we don't know.
specify in that letter of engagement the period of time, like Brian was saying, for X number of years, if that's how you wanted to do that?
Sure.
I'd like to do an annual.
Okay, so, are we ready to call the question?
What is the question?
We have a motion to approve A through O of our PAAA matters, our annual review, ratification of policies. We were discussing the procurement policy. So there was a motion on the floor, and seconded, for adopting A through O. So we're ready for the question? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, anything else? Yeah. Okay, need a motion to adjourn this annual, and to move into the CDC annual meeting. Wait a second. All's in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Okay, this time, you did such a great job, I'm going to turn it over to you again. Oh, I better state that we still have same members here, we have a quorum. Do I need to do a roll call?
We
Better.
should do a roll call because we have others that have arrived. Okay. Dave O'Brien,
Here?
Joe LaFura,
Yes.
Craig Leggett, Bruce Ferguson, Jenny Sullivan, Nick Caimano, Mike Wild,
Here?
Travis Whitehead,
Here.
Brian Campbell,
Here.
Matt Simpson.
Here. Okay, we have a quorum. With that, I'll turn it over to Tammy now.
Okay, so I'm going to read the slate of officers for the Civic Development Corporation. We have Matt Simpson for chairman, Dave O'Brien vice chairman, Joseph LaFura secretary treasurer, Brian Campbell is park chairman. Are there any other nominations from the floor? Next, we have a motion to accept the slate of officers. Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Congratulations.
Okay, the appointments I have are Craig Leggett, the at-large member for the CDC. We have Michael Biddle for the CFO, CEO, and Brian Campbell for park chairman and contracting officer. Is that the same as?
It's
It's just-
basically the
okay.
same.
Okay, let's see, the other appointments, we have committee appointments. Audit and finance is, let me go back to my other list here. Joe, Mike, Ginny, and I'll be the alternate. The executive and park committee, it's myself, Joe, Dave, Craig, and Brian. They're nominating there too. Nominating and governance committee, the same as the executive park committee. And appointment of consultants and official newspapers. The agency council, Fitzgerald Morris Baker Firth. Agency's official newspaper, the Post-Star. Agency's official depository, Glens Falls National Bank. Would,
So moved.
do we have a second? I better do roll call so that Ginny can abstain, or, you want me just,
She can stay on
Okay.
the record like she did the last time, that she's going to abstain from that if she is.
okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you, Jim.
Okay, carried. Okay, we also have our PAAA matters, investment policy, procurement policy, disposition of real property guidelines, mission statement, performance measures, code of ethics, compensation, reimbursement attendance policy, defense and indemnification policy, FOIL policy, sexual harassment policy, travel policy, whistleblower policy, and our organizational chart.
Move them.
A through M. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
A through O, you mean, right?
No, it's only A through M on this one. Oh, no, there's two on the next page, sorry. Statement regarding lobbying and discretionary funds policy. Okay, any further business?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, have to do my first annual meetings. They're a little complicated. Okay, we have, like to open the Warren Washington Industrial Development Agency. We'll start with a roll call.
Dave O'Brien,
Still here.
Joe LaFura, Craig Leggett, Bruce Ferguson, Jenny Sullivan, Nick Caimano, Mike Wild,
Here.
Travis Whitehead, Brian Campbell,
Here.
Matt Simpson.
Here. Okay, we have a quorum. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes of the January 22nd, 2019 meeting?
So moved.
Those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next is our current accounts payable. There was one update.
Staples, that dollar amount was $419.63, and that was the copying of all of your annual meeting packets and board meetings. Our copier just would not handle that volume of copying.
Okay, would someone like to move those?
I'll move them.
Second? Roll call?
Dave O'Brien,
Yes.
Joe LaFura,
Yes.
Bruce Ferguson, Jenny Sullivan, Mike Wild,
Yes.
Travis Whitehead,
Yes.
Brian Campbell,
Yes.
Matt Simpson.
Yes. Next, we have our pilot pass-through payments.
We have two projects that have not paid their town and county taxes yet. That's ICC 4 West Main, is the Cambridge project, and Tribal. I sent out emails again this morning asking them when we could expect payment. I've not heard back.
So you haven't talked to either of them?
I have not. I sent out an invoice already with the late fees for February, and at the end of this week, they'll get a new invoice going out with the late fee for March. And just, I don't know if somebody wants to check into Tribal, because we had a problem with them with the school tax. It took us 2 or 3 months to get the school tax from them. How do you want me to handle that?
Checking with Kara, see how it's been handled in the past, and see what's working.
So, you said ICC 4 hasn't paid?
Right?
It's got a number in here. Oh, that's, I got it. Got it.
I'd rather be more proactive. You know, if you send them a bill, and I don't think it would hurt for somebody to call them. It's our name, not theirs, that's what bugs me. You know, right in the paper.
Yep.
So, you know, maybe just find out why and express, if some of these guys think that that's the way to do things, that's the way to manage cash flow, and I don't think that's their right if it's in our name.
ICC 4 just refinanced.
And I know they no longer have an escrow account with that, so that could be the issue.
Yeah, they could have just not understood it.
Okay, we ready to call the question? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Okay, new business. We have our ABO operational review draft response. You know, we got this a few hours before a meeting, so I'm not sure how many people have had a chance to review it.
That's yours with the notes, huh?
They're looking for this week, right?
27th. They
They weren't
denied
good about
our...
giving that extension, were they?
I don't think so. We did. I was told they were gonna give us one, but...
Didn't see the
We
email?
missed that.
Oh, kidding me if they parted.
I'd elaborate, but I don't wanna read about
An
it.
explanation why they weren't under grant.
So, in reading it, the only thing that stands out to me that I'd like to change the tone is I just don't think it's going to serve us well. There's a couple of comments that we really need to take out of that.
What number, Matt?
Well, I know Travis, I didn't, let's see, do I have...
Number 8.
I'm going to let Travis go on this, because I think he and I both, the time that I've looked at it, and he had it on, I've got it on my phone now.
I unfortunately didn't hit send, but I just put some comments in about 2 hours ago, and sent about 10 minutes. But my comment was in the very beginning, if you're reading there, and it says, the second sentence, for approximately 9 months, the IDA cooperated with the ABO in gathering information and answering questions relating to the review as a request for 2 additional weeks to respond, but denied we submit this response without the benefit of a complete and thorough review of the report and its findings. I would just strike all of that and just continue where it says, we appreciate the recommendations contained in the draft report and will endeavor to implement any of them in our continued efforts to pursue our organizational mission in a legal and transparent manner. Through working with the ABO examiners, the IDA was made aware of certain of the below issues in advance and has already taken steps to address the concerns detailed in the draft report. I just don't think, I've read a lot of these responses, and if you start getting defensive, it doesn't go well. So, because they get another chance to respond. You don't.
And you don't.
And you don't.
Yeah, they'll have the last word, and,
Yeah.
I mean, there's, you know... Then, also, if you continue on where it says, through working with the ABO examiners, the IDA was made aware of certain of the below issues. I don't know, is that certain of the below?
Certain of the below issues were
Oh, okay.
brought to your attention.
I guess I was reading it quick on my phone.
It also says, it is worth noting that many of the recommendations contained in the draft report are not required by law and have never been advanced by the ABO as recommended practices. That being said, the WWIDA follows the law and always makes a concerted effort to stay abreast of and implement ABO recommendations as they become available and will continue to do so. I just think we're being too defensive on that. Get rid of that.
Yeah, you know, your edits didn't show up on my...
Yeah, it just came through as a document.
So I guess we gotta try to... You're gonna have a little time here.
If you want, this didn't turn out real well because it wasn't in color, but I can ask them to get a copy.
Yeah, maybe, yeah, that would work.
Really, it's all...
Do you have a color on your phone?
On my phone?
Sam ought to be able to put those out, do you think? Should we use?
But it didn't come out.
It didn't come out
It's-
highlighted on the phone. So all we have is, we'll just have to get copies of those.
We're not gonna take all of it out, right?
No, but I think my opinion is, I have, just from reading the responses, I mean, there's 2 ways we can go at it.
It's not worth it.
It's just not,
Those were taken from other responses that were submitted to the ABO, so they were just it's kind of a Frankenstein document of what other
Right.
people have done. And it's really, yeah, it's up to you guys what tone you want to take and what, tact you want to take.
In that last paragraph, I would've got rid of everything else that you guys said to get rid of, but that last paragraph I didn't think was that bad.
Which one was that?
That whole paragraph you just read,
I didn't read it.
Second paragraph?
It is
Second
worth
one.
noting,
it's worth noting that many of their,
What number?
Well, now we're above the numbers, it's the very second paragraph. I was gonna put them on the defensive though.
Yeah, I mean, they're gonna challenge that. I just don't see why we wanna,
And they agreed to come meet with us.
you also agreed to give us an extension. They didn't like it when I forwarded the information to the Post-Star, so
Really?
I don't want you to print that, but they didn't like my transparency.
How do you know they didn't like that? You have laid.
Transparency.
We're still being recorded.
Uh-huh.
Okay, Ms. Tim.
No, I was told we would get an extension. All I had to do was ask.
They say why?
Yes, they
Their
did.
response.
What did they say why? What was the reason?
You had since February
Had plenty
6th?
of time.
Basically, in a nutshell, what it said was that we had a special meeting, we had time to review it at that point in time, and there was no reason why the board couldn't compile the response timely. That's it in a nutshell, that's not
Yeah.
it verbatim.
Wow.
That just goes to prove why we should be taking all this stuff out and just...
And I wanted to do it with the board to be as open as possible and not leave somebody out, because that makes it
Right.
questionable.
How much discussion was there at the special meeting?
45 minutes in executive session.
Most of that though, over May versus shall, or...
How could that be executive session?
Because they told us not to share it with anyone.
Well, it was a company.
I know that's been their policy.
Yeah. It's already 2 weeks.
But it's also been the comptroller's office, they have a draft report, they say right in the report not to share it with anyone.
Right, I know.
It's not final report.
No, they-
So
they ignore the-
We're stuck in between hard rock and hard
Ignore
place.
state law.
Yeah, I can let you know, what happened was, is I was under the impression, I was being told by the ABO that it was confidential, not to be shared, so, it was my understanding that, from them, that we need to go into executive session to discuss it. We went in executive session, found out through the reporter that was here that it was not the correct, she made a call to the Committee on Open Government. She called me, and then I called the Committee on Open Government, called her back, and agreed with her that we should not have gone in executive session. So that precipitated a, an article, and,
That's Bob Freeman retired and this is somebody else?
no, he's still there. Once he explained it to me, it was very clear. It didn't. So I ended up bringing the document, the draft report, to the Post-Star. It was within 24 hours of when we had the meeting, so the person that was affected had the information. So everybody's got a copy now.
Unfortunately, I did this in color, and as you can see on the top, the light shading, my suggestion is to delete, scratch the middle stuff. It's very hard to tell. The stuff that's a little darker would be my replacement. The stuff you can't read at all, the stuff I had questions on. Just my notes. But my general idea was I just thought that it would be best not to be defensive. Respond. I just did this to try to expedite today's meeting, but do what you want.
So just a suggestion, should we just go through one by one and agree, disagree?
Yes, Travis, well, you know what, why don't you take us through, you already took us through the first two. Yeah. Why don't you just keep going, because...
Do we agree
I'm
to
all right
scratch
with
those? Is there an agreement to scratch those?
Yeah, I think that's...
Yeah, I think I'm reading the last one, and I like every one of these. But
Yeah, so Travis, start with, number one there. So, the response, well, number one is ensure that the data included in the cost-benefit analysis is based on data provided by the project owner in its application for other documents. And I said to scratch that response and instead to say, The IDA recognizes that there are shortcomings in the present application that causes the IDA to guess at parameters that we will ask the applicant to state in the future. An example of this is the projected assessed value post-project. We all saw what a problem that became when we discussed this a little while ago. If we just simply ask him to say, yeah, I'm estimating that after I stick $1 million into this, it's going to be assessed at $400,000. Now, he had said it, it's not us guessing it, and now there aren't any differences between our analysis based on his numbers. So, and he can't complain about us choosing the wrong numbers because we're going to have him choose the numbers. So, that would be one example of where I think the application should be changed in order to make it easier for us to do the cost-benefit analysis.
If I may, Mr. Chairman?
Sure.
Thanks, Travis, but I think I like the first one, the original, better. Primarily because it doesn't give an example to state specifically what we're going to do. So it's more generic, and they won't hold us to the fact that, are we going to do the example that you said before? What if we leave it like it is for whatever reason? It kind of locks us in. Just a thought. We're just telling them, okay, we're in the process of improving, which is what the first one was. And you're basically saying the same thing, except you have an example.
I have a concrete, example of showing why we got into the problem between why things are different between the cost benefit analysis and the application. And,
Yeah, I haven't had any experience with ELBO, so I like to be more generic, but that's just my guess.
It usually keeps you out of trouble.
I
Well,
thought
thank
so.
What? That's serious?
With a British accent.
maybe we should have Siri what we should do.
Serious, what should we do?
She chimes in without us asking.
You know, you could accomplish everything by changing one word, that all information contained, ensure that all information contained in the cost-benefit analysis is accurate. Just change one word. In the original, ensure that all information in the cost-benefit analysis is accurate.
Well, then again, you're locking yourself in. You're saying we're going to make sure it's right, but the information we get is from the applicant. Right?
Okay, I see.
I like to be as more generic as possible when we're talking to the ABO, and when we're executing it, we can go as deep as we want.
I see your point on that. Kind of verifying
The
that.
less we say, it's not that we don't want to fix it. I'm just afraid we're going to get caught up in something. If we get specific.
I believe that their concern, if I'm recalling the draft report correctly, was that the amounts that were entered into the cost-benefit analysis, or that the cost-benefit analysis spit out, didn't always match what was on the applications. So I think if that's a concern, you could say the less information contained in the cost-benefit analysis is accurate based on the application, or something along those lines.
Mike, I do believe that where this came from in conversation with them in the office was over one particular application where the applicant was made aware at the public hearing that we were doing a 50-25, not 100%, 50%. That information had been calculated without the project's knowledge prior to a public hearing.
Okay. I thought it was sales tax related. That's my mistake.
That's a different one.
Okay.
Well, before the public hearing, that always should be set as to what it's going to be. That was why I had the complaint last meeting over that.
So, what do we want to do here?
All
we can
I'm
move
saying
through
is
this.
that the
Number
data-
one?
Yeah,
Number one?
I'd go the first response with Mike.
Number one is saying that we want to
Okay.
make sure the cost-benefit analysis data provided by the project owner is what we used in the,
Yep.
CBA was,
Yep.
make sure the stuff in the CBA was actually provided by the owner. So there's some kind of connection between the two.
Okay. Going to move on to number 2.
Mandate that the project application and cost-benefit analysis are provided to the board. Response, I was suggesting we just strike the first sentence. It says Section 3 of WWIDA policies and procedures already mandates that the application and supporting materials be delivered to the members for their review. And the IDA will endeavor to ensure that its policies and procedures are always followed. So, we just said...
Yeah, I think that's fine. I think that's fine.
Yeah.
Right, strike first one?
Yeah, strike it, I agree.
Yeah, keep it generic. Yep.
And third one is the IDA should specify the amount of financial assistance approved for projects in the approving resolutions and project agreements. The response that you can read, I just didn't know for a fact whether or not in 2016 the amounts of financial assistance have been specified in the approving resolutions and project agreements, and that perhaps if they know that they haven't, then it's something that they would object to. But I don't have enough information to know whether that's true or not true.
What do you think?
I think Kara inserted that portion when she reviewed it today, but she's home with the flu, so I can ask her to double check that and we'll make sure that's correct and before we send it out there. I would assume so, but I don't want to speak for her.
Can't we just change that to something more generic that says we will...
Yeah, follow Mike's advice.
I don't want to get blamed for everything, but just trying to keep it simple.
We're behind you all the way.
Or you could just take out that last sentence.
Yeah.
That way there's nothing to check.
I would like to know the answer though.
Ready to go to 4.
Well, for 3, I think if we strike the last 2 lines, if we should maybe add something to say that we will ensure that that Stuyvesant and approved projects, will, just state what we're going to do. Right there, we just stated that
Well,
we acknowledge the obligations, but we
Right.
haven't stated what we're going to do to, right? Am I right with that, or?
Yeah, and we'll work to ensure those obligations.
Yeah, so...
Something along those lines.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
We will ensure that the obligations are reflected accurately in the resolution, adopting resolution. That's what they're asking for
Yeah.
in project agreements.
So number 4? Number 4, you want to strike that, right?
Excuse me?
You want to strike that?
I wanted to strike the first sentence in there.
Yeah, because...
I just copied.
Well, it's made a typo. I didn't know how else to say it.
So, you don't have to read that?
We have 2 letters, one we send to them and one we wish we could have sent to them.
Oh, that one's back at the office. I can
Actually, he's
I'm
gonna
keeping
try
records, I can always scan it over to you.
Perfect.
Okay, so I'm good with that. Let's go to 5. The ideation captures.
George, you have an extra copy, I'm sorry. Of your notes, or?
I don't.
They're all out, okay.
Yeah, they're all out.
I got my back, remember?
Yeah, that makes sense.
What, on 5?
You want to,
Is that a strike?
that's
or
a
is
darker
that-
one. That's check.
That's what I added that, actually. I added the, and that due consideration shall be given in the future. So that was...
I think, doesn't it approve, it says it in the upfront, and then you're saying it again in the end?
You can strike, I mean...
It's up to you, but
It's not up to me, but it's up to...
Doesn't really harm.
What number are we on now?
number 5 on the response.
I actually added an additional thing at the end that's a little bit darker, it's not that I'm asking it to be stricken. I was asking to be added, but Matt's pointing out that it really is now being said twice, which,
The IDA acknowledges its rights and obligations that covers all of our options to recapture certain tax exemptions claimed which are in excess of the amount approved by the board.
So, how about if we recognize our rights, and we'll follow through
And we'll act accordingly.
with our obligations? Something,
Something affirmative, like...
Yeah, and that due consideration shall be given in the future.
Okay, we can leave that.
Yeah.
Add Travis's.
Number 6, the recommendation was the IDA should ensure that the amount of sales tax exemptions approved is based on the applicable sales tax rates. The response was the projects which received a sales tax exemption on an 8% sales tax rate indicated they would be acquiring their materials and equipment outside of Warren and Washington counties in locations which are subject to an 8% sales tax. The IDA endeavors to ensure that sales tax exemptions are based on the applicable sales tax rates. And then my comment to that was, you know, if we really are going to allow them to be, you know, taking advantage of screwing other counties out of sales tax, then those counties really should be part of the discussion. So I would strike their response, and I would say instead, in the future, we will make it known that sales tax exemptions are approved only for Warren and Washington counties, whose tax rate is 7%.
Do we want to do that? Because can they always get everything from Warren and Washington County?
I think that we dictate, we decide. How can we give an exemption in another county we don't have?
But on the other hand, it is delivered to our counties to do the project, and where it's delivered is where
Oh,
the
okay.
sales tax
All right.
is paid, right?
So it doesn't matter, yes.
No, because if you go, take a flatbed down to Albany and buy a
And you-
load of
if you-
stuff, you're paying
yeah.
8%.
yeah,
But if they send their flatbed, they pay the 7.
I paid,
Yeah.
in my personal business, I paid 7%, no matter where it was delivered.
It's where it gets delivered.
Where it gets
No matter where it
delivered.
got delivered, because I purchased it in the 7%.
It should be where it's delivered. If I go,
Yeah, that's
if I buy something over, you know, an adjacent county, we're all 7, that happen to be Saratoga and Warren, but I pay the rate as to when it gets delivered. If I pick it up in the store, I pay, the tax goes to where it's delivered to.
I just don't know how you could
So if they,
provide an exemption
we
for
can
a
only,
county
we're only
that-
gonna allow
Hold on a
7%. If they
second.
go to somewhere 8%, then they're just out the 1%, that's their problem.
That should be their problem, it should be 7% no matter what.
I agree.
Don't you just go wherever you're gonna buy this thing? Like you, man, I'll go down to Albany and buy something. I have a small business, I have a tax ID, and I don't have to pay the tax. So Albany's losing out on 8%,
Because you're going to resell it.
because I'm gonna resell it.
But they're not reselling it in many cases, they're putting it into a project. The other thing is, we have a project out, excuse me.
Yeah, sure.
We have a project out there called Mohawk Works, and the entire reason why this company that makes snow equipment, snow packs, that kind of thing, located to this county, was they were in Monroe County with an 8.75% tax, and they said, hey, when we sell $1 million snowcat and deliver it here in Warren County, they can save tens of thousands of dollars. So that's the whole reason why they put this other thing in the Cary Industrial Park, and it's our project. So it seems like what you know, Mr. Campbell is saying is correct. It's where it's delivered to. I don't have a business like that, so I can't tell you what it is.
Just only give 7% no matter what.
Yeah.
Since it's,
And that would encourage them to buy local too.
Yeah, I don't know how we can track
Well,
something.
I think one of the issues is going to be is that what you're approving is an amount, so all that's affected by adjusting the tax rate is the amount. So they could still use their tax exemption at a county that has an 8%
Right.
tax rate. It would
We'll just only get that number based on the 7.
correct. It would just be exhausted quicker, and they'd have less of an exemption.
That's better for us anyway.
So the response tries to justify the 8%. I think we should just go, in the future,
It's gonna be 7.
I just don't know if you want to make a policy change or something. I don't know if you want to keep it more general, because I don't know if you can
That's a good
guarantee going forward that it will only be 7%.
Right, so it should be whatever the the local counties.
So it could be something as specific as that, or you could even just leave the door open that you're investigating it, it's something you're looking into, a policy update, or something similar to how we did the answer on the cost-benefit analysis.
Say,
Warren and Washington County tax rate.
approved only for Warren, Washington County current tax rate.
In the ST60 form, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
ST60 form, that's a form we issue?
Yes.
Does it have any, it has 7% is what it has.
It's a number, so it's not a percentage, it's actually the,
Sales tax paid number, so,
right, it's the amount of the exemption, the total exemption.
so if you went to Albany, you use it up a lot quicker than if you went to Glens Falls. You could buy more in Glens Falls than you could in Albany with your exemption.
Yeah, I'm trying to read what they're saying here in the ABO, and I'm not,
Do you believe that it shows on that ST60, the tax rate and the total tax exemption?
Oh, so is the rate as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
So maybe we
Yeah.
should just drop the rate and put the total exemption.
keep it simple again. They didn't say about this.
Well, it's something we can look at, but
Did they mention, was there issue about the different counties?
no, I don't think we want to go down that road. Because offline, I think we need to verify, because I think, I want to disagree with you guys on where you're buying and what you pay. I'm going to disagree with you, so I don't think we're only dealing with Warren and Washington County. We're not dealing with Albany County.
It should just be what our rate is, and
Right,
because you're using that to get the total amount of exemption.
exactly.
So your exemption stops there.
And then we can look at the form if we want to,
That's
Do something different.
another day.
you okay with that, Mike, to move on?
Go ahead, I'll catch up.
Okay, number 8,
Or 7.
7. Okay. Number 8.
The IDA should review its recapture policy and project agreements to ensure that language regarding potential recapture of financial assistance is consistent. And I said to eliminate the first sentence. It says the IDA has reviewed certain project agreements as referenced in the draft report and identify how such agreements are inconsistent with the IDA's recapture policy, and states that they, in fact, appear to be compatible. Nevertheless, I would strike all that and just say, the IDA will continue to review its project agreements to ensure that they are not in conflict with the recapture policy.
Anytime they use the word nevertheless, we need to soften it. Although they're 100% right.
I agree with that.
That's what I had with 8.
Okay, number 9.
Number 9 is, as stated, this is number 10. And this is number 11. 12.
I have something on 12. And just correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought we had a discussion about some of the data in Paris wasn't correct or up to date, and it'd be too hard to go back and re-update it. Didn't I hear something to that effect? So at this point going forward, Paris would be correct? I think we need to kind of state that in this. Or am I wrong?
So you're saying going forward?
Yeah, because that's the discussion we had, I believe it was in the executive session, I'm not sure.
You have to
That's a
handle
good
it
point.
effectively.
But we did talk about the fact that we couldn't go back, it'd be too much work, it would be a lot of work for little or no return to try to go backwards. But going forward, we'd correct this and make sure that everything was correct. I'm not sure how to
I think
exactly...
we don't say it like that, but if you say, you know, that we will do it prospectively, make changes prospectively as we find them, I think would be fine.
Well, I think that's what they're kind of asking you guys there too, is to establish established procedures review, so it is a little forward-looking in its recommendation as well, I think.
They're not asking us to go back and look at prior, they're asking for the future.
And Mike, on the response line, if you go to the end of that line, that should be data, right, not date?
On 12?
Yeah.
I show data.
So do I.
Really?
Yeah.
Want my glasses?
Unless Travis fixed it from my other one.
Data? Oh,
The
entry
idea
of
is already-
data. It's on the
already
first
includes
line.
Changes relating to the entry of date.
Yeah, it should be data.
Data.
Oh, God, I thought I was...
There's always one.
I'm going closer and closer to it, thinking I'm not seeing it right.
Well, maybe this covers it. We're
I
gonna
think
make
that
sure
covers it, yeah.
Make sure it's correct prior to certifying, because the other stuff was certified, right?
Yeah.
Right, excuse me, right? Didn't read slowly enough.
Number 13,
13, the board should establish appropriate policies to require the disclosure of all potential conflicts of interest, and take appropriate measures, including requiring refusal of conflicted board members when conflicts exist. And the response was, the IDA, which is the IDA has a code of ethics which meets the criteria detailed in ABO recommended practices. The IDA endeavors to abide by its policy and the ABO guidance concerning ethics and conflicts of interest. And then in the annual to do so diligently, I think is just kind of like basically just let it go.
Yeah.
And I would add, this topic will be addressed at an upcoming meeting as a part of our continuing education initiative.
Is initiative spelled right?
No.
I keep looking at it too, and I'm like, I'll talk myself into it, and it's not that great a spell.
Do we want to say,
But I kept reading it, and I'm talking myself into it that it was right, and I'm like...
let's just get an upcoming meeting out. We're going to have it in an upcoming meeting anyway, so let's just, don't put an upcoming meeting, we're just going to have it as part of our continuing education initiative.
Okay.
And that's gonna be in an upcoming meeting.
Of course it will. It's redundant. Get it out of there. We're going to ask when.
that's good.
Like upcoming meeting. That's this part.
At an upcoming meeting, yep. Number 14, should report contracts.
14, the IDA should enter into formal contracts for all professional services that identify specific services to be provided and the basis for paying those services. And this is kind of discussed this beforehand, you know. It says, the response is the IDA acknowledges the ABO's recommendation and notes that with certain types of professional services, a written contract may not be practicable or advisable. The IDA will evaluate the need for a written contract with professional service providers on a case-by-case basis as such agreements are entered into. I just simplified it to say this will be the default case in the future, and the IDA will document any reasons why this might not be practicable on a case-by-case basis.
Like it? I think that's good.
Which one?
The one you
Second
added,
one.
The one you had instead of the first one.
Any words in it are going to get us in trouble, Mike? I've always liked practicable.
It's a nice one. It's right, because it's in the eye of the beholder. But, I think maybe just default would be the one that would give me some pause. But aside from that, I don't see anything wrong with that.
Well, you could change that verbiage a little bit.
Strike default.
This will be the, okay, sure, yeah.
Number 15, the IDA should solicit requests for proposals for professional services contracts as addressed in the procurement policy. Response was the IDA acknowledges the ABO's recommendation. The IDA further notes that it fully complies with the general municipal law on its own procurement policy in its search for and retention of professional service providers. And I again said the same thing, this will be the default case, and maybe getting rid of default.
Just in the future, the IDA will document any reasons.
Yes. Just start with in the future?
Yeah.
Yeah.
both case and the one above also in the future?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And number 16?
What are they getting at with that? Like, what do they expect us to do with that money?
Oh, that's sort of honestly good.
It's my impression that the state just doesn't like CDCs.
Right, so they're just taking shots at it.
That's my impression, but I'm not sure.
This is just over that money that we moved, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But if we didn't move it, we would still spend it on the same thing just out of there, right?
Yeah, but the thing is that the CDC doesn't pay any of our overhead, right?
Has some overhead, but doesn't pay any of my salary.
Doesn't pay your salary, doesn't pay for the rent of the office or anything
I
else.
wonder if we should look at that and...
I don't have a problem with that response.
Huh?
I think that response that's in there, it pretty much just says we can do what we...
The issue there was in the past there was a grant that the CDC gave the IDA.
Which we didn't document.
I don't know why we call it a grant, but
Well, there was a grant agreement and a resolution in the past, so I think that's what they were looking at, and they had some questions about it. And what they're really asking for there is the CDC has a corporate purpose that it can spend money towards, and they just want to make sure that it's tied to that purpose. So whether through the whatever money the CDC gives to the IDA, they want to make sure that it is tied to permissible purpose for the CDC.
We just got to document it better, right? Future.
I believe it could be done that way, as long as the money is used for the corporate purposes of the CDC.
Travis?
okay, some of the transfer is because the CDC doesn't pay anything for the overall overhead. So we can transfer money over to an entity that does pay for all this.
Or we can prorate it and, no, that's too complex, because then you got to do payroll tax and everything on each corporation. So doing the way we do it,
No,
whether
we
we call it
could
something
charge
else.
a management fee probably to the CDC. Maybe
Yep.
that's how we want to get money over. I don't know. I didn't really have a problem if we did in the first place. I think we just need to document it better.
Did you have a comment, Travis?
I was going to say, St. Bruce said that.
Okay.
Since the EPO is down on CDC, do we want to get rid of the CDC?
No.
No.
Can't.
Well, you need it for certain things, so that's the
I'm sorry.
problem.
Not
That's the
the
problem. I mean, other than that, we never needed it until a couple years ago.
We only needed it because the state tried to get everything to go to the dormitory authority.
Yeah.
Travis, thank you for putting in the time on this.
It's really good.
And I want to do that through this quick, so...
I think you did.
Number
well.
17.
Revisit it 3 months from now.
Number 17.
No comments.
No comments? Okay.
Move to accept this response with the
As
changes,
amended?
as amended, with changes we made.
We authorize who can approve this, because we got
We
to
had a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Should be,
Yeah, I didn't know if we should authorize who has the approval to, once Mike redoes it. Like-
that's
The ABA wants it signed by the chairman.
Okay, so you'll have the approval, that's fine.
yeah, I'll
They
sign.
wanted us to go into executive session, then they yelled at us.
No wonder you wanted all those.
We're not going to executive sessions anymore. At least not when these post-stars here. Just kidding.
Local
Okay.
labor.
So that'll have that to you tonight or tomorrow morning.
Okay. Okay, local labor. I have not done anything on this, but I know that there...
Handout here on that.
One thing I want to mention is there is something that's happening in Albany that will affect the IDA, and that all public money, if it passes, there's legislation proposed that it would all be prevailing rate. So all these projects, I believe, I haven't seen the language yet.
Yeah,
I'm not an attorney, but from what I hear, it could be that all these projects could be prevailing rate jobs, which you just tripled the cost, so...
So it's another shot at upstate to try to figure out how to get something done.
So we won't have a lot to do.
So in other words, what it's gonna do is put the IDA out of
Pretty
business.
much.
Because they come with us with agreements and pilots, then they gotta pay prevailing wage, which is gonna double, triple the revenue.
prevailing wage is double?
Depends.
Is that what you're saying?
Pretty close.
Yeah, and then you have benefits and,
Then labor's gotta be at least a third of the, maybe at least a quarter of the cost of a project, right? Depending on the type of project.
I have a copy of that.
I remember seeing one of
I think it's even higher than
Yeah,
that.
there's a big chunk of it.
Yeah, that's not counting.
Well, that's the guys that drive the vehicles too, right?
That's everyone.
Governor says,
That's-
what do you want?
The local labor.
It's gonna slam a bunch of projects.
Somebody asked him about, why taxes are so high. Why cut taxes? So, if you're aware of any place that Cuomo's cut our taxes and claimed things, but then why are they so high? Well,
I don't.
Big County.
then you got defenses and
That's what he usually says, it's the big man.
I don't have one.
cold weather, all that. Emphasize so much of it.
These are sample what other IDAs have done to utilize local labor.
We have to do this, or we?
No, this is something that we could consider.
I'd like to take this home and read it and come back and talk about it with some intelligence,
Okay.
since you gave us a book to read.
How close is the proposed legislation in Albany? Is it just in a draft working form, or is it just?
I don't know if it's part of the budget or if it's legislation.
Yeah, they're ready to go.
I don't know if it's part of the budget or after.
Or maybe we'll be smoking marijuana and won't really care.
We have our homework.
Projects down too, probably.
So we've got our
Yeah.
homework to do.
Give us less action per hour, let's say that.
Okay, next our Inform Analytics contract renewal, the cost benefit analysis software.
You've received a letter to renew our contract for this year for $495. And when I called to check on it, because we had paid one in January, but it was for last year, and I said, look, this isn't working right for us. The detail isn't there, it's skewed data. Well, after further conversation, they said, well, let us go in and look. They went in and said, yep, this has been fixed, and they made it a workable program for us. And they're giving it to us for the year at no cost because they didn't want to lose our business, and they were kind of upset that our contact had not made the changes that needed to be changed, and that it wasn't a true working program. So now it has been revised, and I did use it when I sent out the packet of the Sandy Hill revised application. To use a more realistic number this time.
So what does that mean,
So
going
we-
backwards? Would you have obligations to go backwards in your CBAs?
No, because we used their previous program that was working fine. They had an upgrade this year,
Okay.
and what triggered it was if we weren't going to use that program, were we still going to be able to access the old data? And that was a definite yes, we could access the old data that was in there, and it triggers the further conversation, well, why do you want to get rid of it? Well, it's not working right. Skewed data, skewed numbers, and they did a little bit further research and realized that there were errors in the program, and they fixed it. So it's no cost to us for a year. You have a year to decide if you want to continue to use that program. You're not obligated to use any particular software program for cost-benefit analysis.
Okay, any other, do you have a question,
Well, I comment on that.
comment? Yeah, or,
So I was working with Tammy on that program as well, and so you put in numbers and you get out stuff, and you don't know how it was massaged internally. And really, I think it would be better for all of us to simply, we spent some time on that page 14, which kept on changing, and that's really what the cost-benefit analysis boils down to. And I think if we, as a board, understood what was on that page, we'd have a better understanding of what benefits are. Now, when you go into the program, they start putting all kinds of other things in there, like induced and indirect labor. They also, in the newest program, they go ahead and say a benefit is all of the wages that are paid to individuals. Looking at it doesn't really look at it from a taxpayer's. The way I look at the IDA is the taxpayer invests some money in giving up some of their taxes to reduce the taxes of somebody else for a period of time, and we hope that by doing that we'll get an investment back that makes sense. When you start putting in all kinds of other things in there, it really starts getting away from where I can understand it, and I think that's not a good thing. What I'd rather do is not do it at all and just have a simple sheet, and if we all can understand the benefits on that sheet, then I think we're in better shape.
If this program was really good, couldn't we take one that was done 10 or 20 years ago, plug in those numbers and see if that's what we really got from it?
The way I see that,
That's how you know.
that program will never tell you never to do a project.
That's what I'm guessing.
Yeah.
So, and that's kind of where I was going. But really, you should be able to take a project when you're done and see, is that really what happened? But it'll be so convoluted, you'll never know. That would just be my guess.
I like the idea of simplifying it, easy to understand, not trying to figure out how many extra cartons of milk down the line,
Oh, it's-
bringing another employer in, or employee. That's what it does, right?
It says, yes, if you hire 30 people, that's really 40 people. You know?
Very few.
You paid for 30 and got the results of 40.
Right.
So if I can ask a question about this, the top table, second column, estimated new assessed value of property subject to IDA. So he's putting in $1 million to the project, and basically the increase in assessed value is $260,000. So their equalization rate is 26% in St. Paul?
So we had a discussion about this.
We're going to talk about this later in the agenda,
Okay.
the application.
Right.
We're never going to get through that.
I like the way you said that.
So it's going to be reassessed.
Okay. So also, under new business, we don't have it here, but I have some sad news too. Tammy is going to move to sunnier states,
A sunnier state.
a sunnier state.
I thought didn't he have one of those ankle locks on her, right? So she leaves the county, she gets,
That or
zapped.
So
We can make it warmer here instead.
warm.
It's
Our
already
time-
building, right?
our time is short, and
What's the timing?
I can't be very specific. It could be as early as the end of March or as late as the end of May. And I gave Matt the information at Executive Park because that's the time frame I'm working in. It's personal reasons that this is happening. And I had told Matt that if it's the end of March, you don't have to worry. I'm not like leaving it high and dry. I've asked if I could have remote access to help whoever is in there. Dave and I have had discussions about it. I'd be willing to stay on and help for as long as I can with it. It's not an easy time. You can be trained very well. I have a really good manual that I've developed with the help of how I was trained and then added what I was trained to it. So someone could very easily come in and look at that, but it's nice to have somebody there holding your hand a little bit when you're doing the pilots in Paris. And Paris in itself will need to have a lot of help because there has been a great deal of errors made in it. But I would never leave anybody high and dry. I can log in remotely and help.
It's getting warmer here at the end of March.
Certainly by the end of
Just
May.
like today.
So we should move quickly though, and advertising and...
Yes.
Yes.
Do you have any leads for us? Amy?
I do not. I had a couple of people, but in trying to talk to them, they didn't follow through, so that was like a major red flag for me, and I said, no, we wouldn't even think about that.
So you scared them away?
I apparently did.
I make a motion that Mr. Wild take it up.
Matt and I and
Need a
Mike
motion
are working on it.
to advertise it?
I don't think we do need a resolution to advertise.
No.
No, I didn't think so.
Tim, I don't remember what we did last time, we just did the Post-Star. Yeah, we should probably...
Spending money on it,
Talk to my
actually,
wife if you
resolution.
want.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we should probably try to be more with the times and
Go to Indeed.
go to wherever else you think is a good spot to go.
So we do need
Or
a,
talk to her at the bank and see how they do it, just so you can get an idea of what they're doing. I asked her.
so
Can we
So you
get
can authorize, like, not to exceed number, you know, like,
that, write an article about
you know
the
what it costs,
agency?
yeah.
Right now, the
Yes,
Post-Star
you have a
is
conflict of interest.
over $500 for
Oh, we'll go to the Chronicle then.
Post-Star.
You're not gonna get exposure for that.
So do we have to put a number on it? Or
you could do a not to exceed, if it's like 500, do not to exceed $600 or something like that, that way you cover yourself.
No?
Motion not to exceed $2,000 to advertise for a position.
A motion on the floor, do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Do I have to do roll call on that?
No.
Okay.
We will be conservative, but you might have to watch out for Monster and other places too.
I get something online over here called Indeed.
Well, you looking for jobs?
LinkedIn, Indeed, all of those.
Yes.
Has anybody told Mike Billy yet that Miss Tammy's moving back?
Yes.
You know,
What, you think he's not here?
He's following.
He's quick coming.
Okay, if there's nothing more in new business, we'll move into unfinished business. Park business.
Mark, I don't have an update for Kelly, but I'll be meeting with Kelly and Brian to hand over the baton. So we'll get an update.
Okay, Greenrich Preservation.
Kara gave me updates, that's one thing she was able to do today, while fighting off whatever flu bug she has, let's see. It's here, hold on. I keep telling them, the guy get me iPads.
On a phone.
Alright, Greenwich Preservation, we'll be delivering the signed closing documents tomorrow. And Fire Tech closing is effective 2/21. We received the closing package on Friday, and have checks, and we'll get them over to Tammy. So, big progress on both of those.
Yeah.
I see nothing going on in...
It's so frustrating.
No?
Like fire tech
Say
is
they're
like
doing
they're
something,
going
but
out
now, say they don't like cold weather.
I heard they were active down there.
Flood right out.
Yeah.
I forget who told me, but they were active down there.
I haven't-
Right, well,
Not recently, they're not.
Okay.
I'd like to move on here. So we also have RAN Sky Zone pilot agreement. Did you already speak about that?
No, I didn't, but I don't have an update on that one, I'm
Okay.
not sure.
Tax abatement policy, I know that I got a text from Mr. Biddle, he's still working on it, did you have anything, were you working on that with him, Travis?
On the tax abatement.
Yeah, no, I don't,
Well, yeah, we had just gathered some information from some
Okay.
of our IDAs. We haven't heard any more than that.
and the same with the annual project survey report, still working on that. Banking RFP,
I haven't gone anywhere with that. And, if somebody else wants to take the ball and run with it, it might be better, because I'm just too busy.
okay.
And then my wife also works for the bank, so I'm not so sure.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, not so sure. I should be the one, person with it on.
So we can run it down pretty good. I actually had that in my vehicle. But it was, I can't remember the numbers. I guess we can wait. Table it. Talking about the executive part.
That's fine. I mean, I get all excited about that New York, whatever, then,
Yeah, not much.
now we can't use it. like every time.
I don't know, that's not confirmed yet, though, is it?
Wait, yeah, why can't you use, did you find something that, 'cause
No,
I-
I thought somebody said it at the last meeting.
It's something
No,
about
we-
not on the...
Oh, we're not
municipality.
government.
Did I send you the
Yeah,
research on that? I did some
You didn't-
research on it. Okay, I might have just sent it to Kara.
I didn't see
Well,
it.
I didn't see, I'll summarize very briefly, I didn't see a reason why we couldn't use it.
It was for
Why don't
municipalities.
you bring it?
It's authorized in the, in your investment policy to do, investment programs like that. My only concern was whether their authorizing act allows them to let you in, so my advice would be to reach out to them and see. I don't think there's anything that prohibits, this IDA from approaching them, as long as they're willing to have, be a repository for the funds.
Dave, how about the LDC? Was it allowed in or not?
LDC is not allowed in.
LDC is not allowed in because they're a not-for-profit corporation. The IDA is a public corporation.
Okay, so there's the difference.
There's a difference, yep.
But public corporation, NICLAS is only for municipalities.
But the IDA is a public benefit corporation, so it's under that umbrella of a public corporation, municipality, and that's one of my concerns of reading the law, as it refers to municipalities. But there's an opinion from the comptroller, I want to say from like 1985, that authorized the creation of things like NICLAS and with a large umbrella. And so I know some other IDAs use very similar programs. So as long as they're willing to let you in, I think that's fine.
I'm sorry. Paul, my other IDAs use similar programs?
They have a similar, like, there's a standard, it must be standard language for investment policies, because a lot of IDAs have the same exact,
They're not using other investments like NICLAS.
they may very well. That's my impression, is that they are. Otherwise it wouldn't be an industry for IDAs. I can confirm that, though. We're just,
You could find out what some of the other options are. They may give us another road to go down.
sure.
How much does that cost an hour?
Pilot billing update.
I'll keep it quick.
I had provided that earlier, that we still have 2 projects I'm following up on. The year-end survey, I'm waiting on one project to provide their data. He's going to get back to me today with it. When I left, I still had not received that report. So once I receive that and have clarification from the ABO on how to clean up the bonds that are in Paris, then it'll be ready for Mike Fiddle to certify. Travis had brought up earlier that he wondered if the board was going to be reviewing that before that was certified. I don't know how the board feels about coming and looking at that program. See if you're okay with the information that's in there, how you want to handle that.
On an individual basis, I would be doing it. So if I can help, actually, along those lines.
It's just how they want us to clean up how the bonds were entered, to try to explain it to you. Right now, the bonds that are in there, there's like showing 6 or 7 bonds. We do not have that many bonds out there. But going back all the way to year 2012, every time there was a drawdown, it was entered as a new bond. The numbers don't match because you're showing the original bond, and then you've got all these drawdowns that are listed as separate bonds. So you've got to try and figure out, and the ABO is completely confused. They don't know how they want me to enter this. So I'm waiting to clarify with them.
Okay, we'll move on to Sandy Hill Vision LLC. I believe everybody's been mailed a copy of the application.
Which project is that?
Sandy Hill.
Project,
Pardon?
the Nickus project.
I didn't really recall. I parked on the other side of the street and stared at it for about 15 minutes today. When I came up here, I wish we'd had a tour, but it's...
Well, you were able, I responded and said you were able to, if you wanted to do that. It's just that if we had more than a certain number, then it gets logistically more difficult because it's a quorum of the board.
I think you just tell the newspaper it's not a meeting.
Open meetings law doesn't permit...
Doesn't matter.
Giving too much power to somebody.
Or we all meet at the same time and bring the paper with us.
As long as it's a social event, you're okay.
I mean, that's all we do. If we have a special meeting in town, we announce it and make sure the press knows about it.
Everybody was welcome to, is welcome to, we could set that up if they would like a tour of it.
The elevator in yet?
But you had your public hearing.
No, we have not had the public hearing.
So, I think that we need to get input from people, public, we need to have a public hearing. I would also like to hear from the town of Kingsbury what their position is on this.
We said that last month.
What?
Still feels the same way.
Still feel the same way.
Well, did you ask
We didn't.
them? You see or remember?
Well, they have,
I'm not asking people personally, I can't
Not
ask people
asking the
personally.
supervisor.
We need an official response from the town of Kingsbury. I can't take what
Who
Joe
told
and
them
Dick
that?
and Harry. We haven't told them that. I propose that we do that now.
But is there a certain, what is the certain way that would normally work? That's what
I want to, we got to back up. We got to back up. We got to back up for a second. We just have got an application that was amended from the last meeting we had. So this is different than what anybody in Kingsbury has looked at. They have to look at the application to even, we have to have an application that has been accepted by us to evaluate. So now that we have that, there has been authorization to set a public hearing, which we haven't set up yet. But I wanted everybody to look at this application so that we're all in agreement that there's nothing else, everything's been addressed, and we can move forward to the public hearing. And then Dave is asking if we should ask for, or he's suggesting we should ask for,
Suggesting we send a copy of the application to the town of Kingsbury and ask them what their stance is on this and get an official response.
can we do that?
But because the town's the only one that has to approve it, they're the only ones that opted out. All we have to do is inform the school and the village.
I think you certainly could do something like that, you know, whether they're willing to take an official action, or they could designate someone to go to the public hearing. There's a few different things that they could do. So I think an kind of informal letter saying, you know, we've been approached with this application, we're interested in your take on it.
But we have to get an official response to them before we can act on their...
I think you still go ahead with the public hearing, because you're not taking that official action yet.
Better do this every other project that comes up from now on.
No, Kingsbury has opted out of going to the county. We have to get their permission to do permission's the right word, we have to get their blessing to do the pilot. I think they're the only ones in the county that will like that. All the other towns didn't opt out.
Well, there were other towns that opted out.
Well,
You had to opt in.
no, you had to opt out, I believe.
My town did not vote to go in. I was chairman.
Okay, Brian?
So is there a protocol? Is there a way we would usually do this? Is there a set way this is supposed to work if somebody did opt out? Is there...
That's that way.
It could really happen a few different ways. I mean, the pilot
Could, but
right.
have we set a precedent? Have we done this before? Is there... That's what I'm...
Yeah, we've had the public hearing.
Not that I've seen. I mean, there's a few different ways that I could think to do it legally, but I haven't seen this board do it. I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm not sure it's been done in the past. I'm not sure if it's been done in the past.
I don't know. Mr. Wyatt?
I think what Dave is saying, correct me if you're not, that if you don't get the blessing of Kingsbury, then what's the point in us going any further? So why, let's do that first. I mean, why go through all this extra trouble?
I think for the process, we still have to have this public hearing to get input. That's our process.
But we don't want to go to public hearing until we have all our I's dotted, T's crossed. We don't want to change things. And there's clearly some issues in even the revised one that needs to be looked at. So we're not ready to go to the public hearing, in my opinion. But you might not even have to think about that. If Kingsbury Board's already convinced that they don't want to do this, and I've heard that,
I have not heard that from any official
Don't they
source.
need to go to the public hearing and hear about it before they
Right,
decide?
the
if
public
they're
hearing
against it?
should be... So
Right.
question, is the public hearing in Washington County?
Yes,
No, I'm
in the
just-
town of Kingsbury.
Must be the town of Kingsbury.
You know, Matt, just historically, when we did the Price Chopper project at Fort Edward, the application came with a letter from the town,
Yeah.
really wanting us to do it. And then, you know, in my opinion, we should have followed through with the school system, because then at the very end, we got a nice letter from the school system explaining why they didn't feel we should do it. And it kind of got ignored, and that's why I just think it's better to open up lines of communication as early as possible with these municipalities to get a feel for what they're thinking. Because I don't care, I mean, I understand Kingsburg can opt out, and the village can't, and the school can't, but it would weigh a lot with me if they both came and said, we don't want this, or we really want this. I mean, to me, that would mean a lot to me when I'm making my decision.
I think there's two parts legally, there's two parts to this legally. Is first of all, is there pilot? The second of all, do we grant the mortgage exemption and the sales tax exemption? Because I don't think they can protest that, for lack of a proper word.
Correct.
So,
So what would the board like to do?
I'd say mail them a copy, or the supervisor a copy.
Should we wait for the executive board meeting to go through this in detail? And then...
The application?
Yeah, and then do a public meeting after that, if we feel it's warranted. That way everybody can have their say at that meeting.
but number one, we need an official response from the town of Kingsbury. If we can't get a response from a supervisor, or one councilman, or two councilmen, we need an official response, because we have to act on that response.
Before the public hearing.
No, let's just have the public hearing, then if that's the case, let's hear what everyone has to say.
I'm sure.
But
the town of
That's
Kingsbury
happened in
says
the past
no.
with up in Warrensburg, where they
We're out of public hearing.
You know, I would hope that the Kingsbury representatives would come to the public hearing to get a sense to understand what the project is all about,
I think
and
they
to
know,
understand in better detail.
I think they know better about the project than we do.
I'd like to make a motion that we ask the Kingsbury Board to give us a up or down vote.
I hate to delay this
I don't know when
any
they're...
further. The guy, he's already moving forward with the project, is he not? So let's not delay it from a business standpoint. You know, you'd like to see a decision happen yea or nay as soon as possible.
So how are you delaying it if you're asking for...
Because you're going to wait to schedule a public hearing, right? Until you get the
Well,
vote.
if you ask a town board for a decision, you're asking for them to decide something at the next board meeting. That could be anywhere from 1 to 30 days from now.
Right.
If they're
But
willing to give you a decision.
But remember, there's two parts to this. They have the authority to say, no, we don't want the pilot.
Right.
They can voice, we don't think you should do the sales tax and mortgage tax, so that's still up to our discretion. So I think we have to have a public hearing and send a letter to them and say, hey, listen, let's know it. I make
I
a motion,
agree.
we go that way. I mean, I agree with Mike too, let's not delay this any longer. I mean,
You ready to have the public hearing then?
We have a motion on the floor.
and the letter to
Do
the
them both.
Kingsbury Town's Board.
Yeah, move it.
Are we going to make sure the numbers are correct before we go to public hearing?
Yes.
Yes.
I did them exactly the way, it was your, I remember we went through line by line in this.
Yeah, but, you know, when it says on page 14 that the total pilot benefit is $29,000, and then on the cost-benefit analysis, it says it's $88,000. Those are the kind of things that the ABO says,
We have to make a decision as a board. Are you going to use this cost-benefit analysis program that you have already been told gives you skewed data?
junk.
Or are you going to stick with page 14 as your cost-benefit analysis?
Which is the 260
Which-
that we talked about.
Started
Then we talked about it at the
The 260 is the increased value, not the total assessed value.
Right.
Right.
Because that's what the pilot would be based on, is that increased value.
I think we've got to go with this one until such time as we make sure that program's working correctly.
This is the weekend right in front of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
So the public hearing's a week, at least a week away, 10,
We have to do 10
at
days.
least 10 days.
You're saying it will be in Kingsbury?
Yeah.
In Kingsbury, it
Has
has
to
to
be
be
in
the
the
No, I
town.
was just asking.
Has to be in the town.
Yeah,
We're-
okay, Roger.
You had one at Hebron, it'll be at the town office.
Didn't you do it in my town hall?
I did one at his town hall, and I did the one down in Hebron.
And I did the one in, where that again, Matt?
So that's my motion now.
Half the town showed.
Page?
Public hearing on what date?
We don't have one set yet.
There's nothing else.
You're authorized to...
Oh, you have to
You've
set.
been authorized. but, yeah.
We set that, or do you have to work out the logistics?
I mean, we can do that. I don't know how you guys usually do it as far as like venue-wise. We can certainly do that.
We gotta check with the venue too, right?
Hmm?
How's this been done in the past? I know Joe and you guys have done these...
10 days, we generally do it at the town hall.
Yeah, I did one because I was up there.
This is in the village, though? Right?
No.
We're in the
No.
village grounds? We're not in the village grounds? Okay.
About 20 people showed
I
up.
think it's the town.
Yeah, maybe we do the town hall would be best. We had fire tech in Queensbury.
So I might come
Yeah,
and go.
I think we should.
You have to find a date, and you have to make sure that...
They don't keep
So I'm 10 days, puts it out to, 7th.
What's that?
10 days puts it out to the 7th. I'm gonna be in Washington until morning of the 7th. So that has to be out to the 7th. 7th, 8th, the 11th.
Go with what's convenient with your schedule so you can be there.
What time would we do it?
Typically done in the morning, when they've had them, correct?
It'll be done the same day as your next meeting.
Our next board meeting would be March 18th. Do you really want to put it off that far?
Don't have to.
You could schedule it for March 11th,
What day is that?
Monday.
I can do it on the 11th.
Be there on the 11th?
Hmm?
I won't be there on the 11th, but I don't know it's necessary that I'm there.
We'll tape record it and bring in all the good statements.
You can FaceTime me and I can do it.
So you don't do these in the
No,
evening for
we'll
the
be
public
late.
to show up, you just do it?
Can you tell them we're gonna be late?
I gotta get there.
We can do them anytime.
You're not gonna be there.
Oh, God. What a
Pretty
bad
much guys want that.
I gotta get a police escort.
People can show up and talk about it, right?
We can do
I
it.
hate these public hearings that happen in the middle of the day and the public doesn't show up.
Do you wanna do it on Monday? I mean,
Monday nights, there's some board meetings. I know ours is Monday night.
We could do Tuesday night.
Well, you know
Does anybody
something?
know when Kingsbury's board meeting is? I guess
I'm just gonna try and find out.
that would be the, just don't do it the same night as...
Well, you don't have the
Could do it
schedule?
the same night. I'll have a hell of a crew for a board meeting probably.
Well, why not?
That would be perfect.
are you looking something up, Dave?
Look up
Kingsbury,
Kingsbury board
York.
meeting.
If I can find their calendar.
So wouldn't that be better to do it after
The county board meeting will be back in Washington County then. Maybe since we can make it back to Washington
Why
County
would myself
myself.
another night away?
Calendar right in front of me. Their next board meeting is March 4th.
How about the 11th, that is open?
11th is open.
Yeah, let's do it.
So the March 4th does not give us enough
No,
time.
11th. Oh,
The
11th.
Okay.
So,
I have a board meeting that night. I don't know about any of the rest of you.
About the 12th.
what, 11th?
Yeah, like a second Monday.
No, it's Tuesday, isn't it?
March 11th?
12th is the 12th. 12th is Tuesday.
I thought we were going to do it on Tuesday.
Okay. Tuesday the 12th, sounds good.
And we're gonna forward the application to them.
At what time?
Time's good, 6, 7?
Any?
We buying dinner?
6.
We go to the envelope.
I guess they're away from there.
You're buying dinner, 5:30.
Under the Dunkin' Donuts policy.
Which time? You suggested the night, Mike. What
Sorry?
time? You suggested night, what time?
What time do you think people would?
6.
I said 6.
Do it 6 o'clock.
Okay.
then we still got time if it goes late to get to the annual.
And there's some of the letters.
Okay, we saw CDC.
I can't leave, we don't have a... We can do the CDC in like 10 seconds.
Yeah, we do.
We have a forum.
See ya.
Let's leave.
Is that for unanimous?
Oh, you're right, we have to go back
to that.
6, 12,
Thank
March
God,
March
no.
12th,
It's 6.
6.
See you later, Brian.
No, Tom Roth.
Where is it?
See you in a bit.
Kingsbury Town Hall.
On schedule? Absolutely, sure thing.
That was the Kingsbury Town Hall bit. Okay. Okay, anything under the IDA? Anything further? Motion to adjourn and to go into the CDC. Second, all those in favor? Aye. Well, actually, we need to do a roll call again,
No.
no? No, okay.
No roll call.
Okay. Okay, we have change in attendance, so we'll do a roll call.
Dave O'Brien, Joe LaFura, Craig Leggett, Bruce Ferguson, Jenny Sullivan, Caimano, Mike Wild, Travis Whitehead,
Here.
Brian Campbell, Matt Simpson.
Here. Okay, I'm finally on my right meeting, the right meeting now. Okay, need approval of the minutes of the last board meeting, January 22nd.
Motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Any new business? Motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second. Wow.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
I don't know.
Right, so I read the agenda for the CDC.